Brigade, attention. Matt Dalton signing off.
Marshall in the middle.
Recording in progress.
What's up, brother?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. How are you?
It's been a minute.
Hey, hang on 1 second.
Breakfast is about to be served. Today we'll be serving breakfast with odd number rooms first and even number rooms. Please do
You hear that?
not door until instructed. Please also ensure you have put on your sectional mask.
What are they saying?
That is our 3 times a day food announcement here in quarantine. They have a PA system and they announce when we're allowed to open up the doors and get our chow. So they're going to do another announcement here for my room in a second, and then I'll run and grab it real quick. Pretty funny.
Okay, yeah, well, sounds good. Sounds exciting. So so tell me about where you're at and what's going on. You're in Australia, right?
Yeah. We're in Brisbane, and on I think day 8 of quarantine. We're here for an exercise. Got the brigade headquarters here, battalion headquarters, and one of the Patriot batteries here. And we're going to conduct a live fire next week, Patriot live fire, and then just a kind of an FTX with some guys from 4th ID, and then of course the Australians. So it should be fun.
So you're a battalion commander or brigade commander, or what? Tell me what you're doing now.
Yeah, I'm 38th ADA, 38th ADA Brigade. We stood up about 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. Yeah.
And
Yep.
so where are you headquartered at?
We're on the mainland of Japan, probably about an hour or so outside of Tokyo, a place called Sagami Depot. I don't know if you're familiar with Camp Zama at all, but there's a couple. I mean, it's a small footprint. Matter of fact, ours is the largest footprint in Japan. But we got one down in Okinawa. It's one of the battalions, and then we got a couple other separates kind of all over the battlefield out here in the Pacific. So it's fun.
Wow. So it's interesting that you're deploying for an exercise and yet you're holed up in a hotel. That's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah. It's I mean, Australia's pretty strict, and so it's mandatory regardless of vaccine status. There's 100% everybody. Doesn't matter. Everybody. Exceptions to this are up at like the senior levels of the government type of thing. So no exceptions, but it's working for them. I mean, they got a pretty low COVID count, a pretty low vaccine status right now. I've been tracking it, watching their local news, but they're getting there. But this is how they're controlling it in their area. So obviously we gotta play by the rules.
How do you get everybody to be so it seems like they'd be so tense up in some hotel room for 10 days or 14 days or whatever? That's wild.
Yeah, they're the Aussies made it pretty comfortable as possible. Unfortunately we can't go out at all. We can't, like I said, that you heard the announcement, we can only open the door when they tell us to. We got to put the mask on and stuff like that. But we're able to order exercise equipment, right? So we can rent it from like a local shop, and they deliver it to their liaisons, and the liaisons bring it up to the door. So I got like a stationary bike, a couple dumbbells, and a couple little things to work out 5 hours a day.
So are y'all able to get together, or do y'all have to each stay separate also? Oh, this is great. I love it.
All right, so I'll show you the process. Put my mask on before I open the door. That's it, man. That's the process. Got my bag of
Something
chow.
happened and you're muted.
You hear me now?
I think something
You got me?
changed. Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, maybe because I was moving around a little bit. Yeah,
I
so
just
that's
got a
it. That's the
note.
process.
Oh, that's cool. That is great. That is so great. So, yeah, so y'all are going to do a live fire in Australia. Does being below the equator affect the missiles differently?
Yeah, we'll find out. I think it's the first time.
I don't know. So, that's cool. Who owns the missiles? I assume these are U.S. missiles we're shooting.
Yeah. So what they'll do is when we request, they'll dig up like the oldest couple of missiles in the inventory and kind of use those. Obviously not going to fire the best stuff, but yeah, no, it's going to be fantastic. Going to have a great exercise with them. I'm trying to remember who the Aussie that was there when we were at the schoolhouse together.
Tim Lopsick.
Was it Lopsick? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was Lopsick or Bede Galvin. But
I know
yeah, so I've
Galvin
been in
too,
contact with I've been in contact with Bede and another one of our buddies, Rich, who was after Bede, and hopefully we'll be able to link up with those guys. But they have a regiment. It's really a couple of units, but the regiment that the ADA batteries fall under, 16th Reg, is out here, so we'll be working with them, and we worked with them a little bit when I was up at the 94th in Hawaii. Worked with them as partners, so it'll be good to see some friends.
Tell me a little bit about Young. I remember you as a captain, but tell me more about you as a child. Where are you from?
I'm from a small town in Connecticut called Portland. And so it's like the other Portland, in Portland, Maine, Portland, Oregon, now Portland, Connecticut, baby. Right along the Connecticut River. Yeah, it's a real small town. The deal, driving across cross country, every small town basically looks the same. So it's kind of like that. I think we had, I graduated with about 60 people. So it was small high school. But yeah, grew up there, grew up in Portland, got an older sister, younger brother. They're still all basically in that same area, extremely successful people. And then my parents are still over there as well.
That's great. That's great. Did you always want to join the Army or come down a career path, or how did you end up as an officer? Tell me all that.
Yeah, I got a lot of family in the military that were in the military. My dad was in the Navy. My grandfather and my uncle were in the Marines. My other uncle was a Huey pilot in the Army. I got a cousin. I got a bunch of people that I guess kind of influenced me growing up, but I never really thought about it, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. I guess I went to a military college. I don't know why I did. I just went, called Norwich University up in Vermont. And it was a pretty good experience. Got a lot of good friends out of it. It was a small school as well. And I enlisted when I was there at college. Did a reserve program with the Marines. So I kind of had that tie with my uncle and my grandfather. And then when I graduated, I changed to the Army department my senior year in college. And then went Army.
So was air defense your first choice? How did you end up being branched into air defense?
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was, because the whole time I was in college, when you're in the Marines, the Marine department the first 2 years is Navy. So I was in the Navy department for 2 years, like freaking racking my brains about trying to figure out what a damn nuclear sub is and all that stuff. Like I was clueless. And I mean, I barely made it out of there, out of those classes. And so when I transferred over my senior year, I had to cram I had to take two years worth of ROTC, because I believe that's the minimum. So I had to take junior year and senior year of ROTC, and then I had to do the camps and all that stuff. And after freshman year, I did boot camp Parris Island. After sophomore year, I did infantry school Camp Lejeune. After junior year, I don't even know what I did. And then after senior year, that's when I had to actually do all the Army stuff. So after I had already graduated. So I didn't know what the different branches were, really. I didn't even research it, nothing. I just signed up. But I do remember filling out a top five, top six list. And I don't even remember what I put on there. But I didn't know what air defense was, so I don't think I put air defense on there at all. And then I was a half year grad, a December grad. I wanted to make sure I got everything I could out of college. So I was on the 4.5-year program. And so I was a half year, and they kind of just said I think in like November, December, like, hey, you're going to El Paso in February for ADA OBC. And I was like, well, what is this? Like, I had no idea what it was. And so I started researching it, and that's how I got into ADA.
What was your first, were you SHORAD off the get-go, or have you always been Patriot and Hawk, or what's your background?
Yeah, I was SHORAD until I was a battalion S3. So my first assignment was 11th ACR, and it's at Fort Irwin, separate battery. Usually people are confused. They think when you say Fort Irwin, you mean that you were an OC, but no, I was the Op4 side. Fantastic, best assignment you could have as a brand new second lieutenant. The amount of rotations that we had one every month, and so we got to fight Blue 4 every month, and you learn a ton by those repetitions. So yeah, I loved it. It was a great assignment. Some great leaders there. It was a separate battery though, so I didn't really still know much about ADA, because it was an ACR, and so we're literally the only battery in the whole regiment. So a lot of the customs and historical type things that we did were all ACR stuff. They weren't like there wasn't really a tie too much to ADA.
Yeah, I felt the same way in the 82nd for a while, and then you realize, you go back to Bliss enough, and you're like, oh wow, there's a lot of different traditions that ADA has that other folks don't have. What are some ADA traditions that you really like?
Well, obviously the St. Barb's. So that's something that I like doing. Man, what else? I don't know. I'm not sure how many traditions I know. I know lieutenant traditions, like getting duct taped to a Humvee and then getting driven around the desert, those type of traditions. Those are,
Tell me that one. Yeah, I want to hear about, was that you?
Oh yeah. That was a part of the initiation back in the day in the 90s. You get tossed out of the Army probably for that now. But yeah, done out of love, it's like kind of, you made it, when your soldiers, I guess, respected you enough to throw you on the top of a Humvee, duct tape you there, duct tape you, everything. And then kind of, it's not like they're going 60 miles an hour down the road. It's just, a little thing. And then they kind of cut you loose and let you flop around like a fish for a minute, take some incriminating photographs, and you're good to go, man. You're part of the team.
So they did that to you as a lieutenant out at Irwin?
At Irwin, yeah.
Oh, that's great. So you're right. That is a welcoming to the party. It's you're okay. You're one of us. Because if it wasn't, you'd either be hurt really bad and calling the MPs, or you'd probably be dead, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's great. There's so much field time, out there. It's like, every month you're out for like at least a week or more. I forget, maybe like 9 days or something. And you know the deal when you're out in the field for a long time, over and over and over again, people start getting two things. They get really, really, really good at their jobs, and then they get stir crazy. And that's when they start getting all the bright ideas.
That's true. That's true. So tell me about, your next assignment. Where did you go from Fort Irwin? Where was your battery command and stuff?
Battery command was Alpha 5-5 in 2ID in Korea.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So it's fantastic assignment. So I went obviously back to advanced or captain's course at Bliss. And then kind of linked up with everybody, because again, we know at Fort Irwin there was when I got there, I think I was the first platoon leader. So there was an XO, and then over the course of the 3 or 4 years I was there, I think two other lieutenants came. So that's it. That's all I knew. I knew about 5 people in ADA, that were lieutenants or even the battery commander, I guess. But so got a good chance to kind of meet everybody at captain's course, and then went out to 2ID, and it was kind of the same, where it was a separate battery with first BCT on Camp Casey, kind of up north there. But yeah, 5-5 over there. It was a fantastic unit with Bob Delgado as a Dragon Slayer 6, a fantastic leader.
Oh, yeah, that's great. What year was that?
That was 01.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
2001 to 2003. Yeah, I did.
So
just
you had
just under, just shot 2 years there.
You had the BSFV Bradley Stinger fighting vehicle. Is that what y'all had?
That's right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they were like the oldest Bradleys in the fleet. I think were the ones in Korea. Yeah, so yeah, like the old school ones. So in 01, we're doing like what did they call it? What was the futures thing called? Like Fort Hood was doing, I think it was like Force 21 or something like that, or I forget what they called back then. And they had the linebackers in Fort Hood, I think. But yeah, we had the old school things where you're just running out of the back of it. So I had 2 Bradley platoons and then Stinger Humvee platoon.
So what was your vehicle? You got to ride around in a Bradley, or you probably had a little 4-seater Humvee with a bunch of antennas on it?
Yeah, Humvee, and then the 113 was the command post. So we plugged that bad boy into the brigade talk. Yeah.
The big one, the big was it a 5.57 or I know what you're talking about? Yeah, the big old.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things were big old hulks, man, driving them suckers around.
Yep. Yeah, it was another great assignment. I mean, Korea is just constantly going. In Korea, going from exercise to exercise, gunnery, FTX, exercise, gunnery, FTX, rinse, repeat. Yeah.
Yeah, Korea it was like back in those days, they had to send you to the field to keep you busy, to keep you out of the trouble. Otherwise it was crazy in a way.
Oh, you're not lying. I mean, we used to, my first sergeant and I used to talk about, man, if we could just keep some of these soldiers on duty, they'd be the damn sergeant major of the Army. You know what I mean? They're just so good. And then, come 18, 19, 20, 100, man, the wheels just come flying off.
You get a call, so-and-so's in a turtle ditch, you gotta go get them out.
Yeah, that'd be a good phone call. Most of the time it was, hey, private whoever, lieutenant whoever's on the MP station down at the front gate, need a commander to go pick him up. Roger that.
Do you remember a trying time as a battery commander? You remember giving your first Article 15 or anything like that?
Oh no, I don't remember giving too many as a battery commander. I think maybe I just did a handful of them. I mean, I remember the first field grade that I sat in as a battery commander for one of my soldiers, and it was one of those. I still remember. I'm not gonna say his name, but freaking great kid, you know, and just did something stupid. I don't even remember. I have no idea what it was. I don't know why it raised up to the level of a field grade, but for whatever reason it did. And everybody was just freaking pucker factor. You know, I mean, everybody was just, you know, real scared walking into the office. And, you know, we all had our stories lined up and all that stuff, me and the chain of command, to try to go to bat for this guy. And, you know, I don't remember too much about it other than, you know, the pucker factor high and everybody was just nervous, even the chain of command, never mind the soldier. And so I always think about that when, you know, when I was a battalion commander, I always remembered that. And even as brigade commander, you know, doing Article 15s, I'm like, okay, you know, because you want to give these guys a fair shot. I mean, some of them got it, it's cut and dry, black and white, but others, like, man, you gotta allow these guys to say stuff, to present their matters. And so I always give them multiple chances, because a lot of times they're so nervous they don't even want to talk. You know, it's like, what else you got? I mean, you got any, what do you want to say for yourself? You know what I mean? It's like, nothing, I'm good. It's like, no, calm down. Say something, man.
Yeah, I found a couple times where I was, you know, making people notes ahead of time and saying, "Here, hold this in your hand, and when they ask you, you read this." And they did, and it was helpful. It was,
Yeah,
because you want your soldiers to present themselves well. You know, if they messed up and just messed up, you don't want them to be slammed. You know, Command Sergeant Major Heather Smith said it the other day. Corrective, you know, training is the best thing ever. You know.
Yep. Yeah. So I remember that. I don't remember giving too many company grades. I think I probably did a few of them, but nothing memorable there. But that's the one thing I remember from Korea as far as UCMJ goes, was that when everybody was standing tall in front of the man.
Oh wow, that's great. That's great. So tell me about the next step. I think I met you probably around the next step. You were end up in teaching, I think, as a mentor or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was supposed to, you know, it's funny. My buddy Rob Baniscus, we were battery commanders together, and he was supposed to go teach, and I was supposed to go to NTC to be an OC, and but I had just come from there, and so when I got the orders, I told you know, I think I told my boss, my battalion commander, and I forget exactly how it went down, but basically they flip-flopped our orders. So he went to NTC because they didn't want me going back after I was just there for 4 years. But I mean, I loved it. I loved the NTC. I would have gone back in a heartbeat. But they flip-flopped us, and we kind of joked about that for years. Rob and I did. But yeah, so I went there to captain's course to be an SGI instructor there. Yeah, good job.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where we
so
met. Like maybe.
So
that's where
an
you and I
instructor
met.
there. Yeah, absolutely. What do you remember about teaching Captain Career Course?
Oh man, I remember a ton. I loved it. It was I don't know. I guess it was right up my alley, but it was a little bit intimidating at first because you're teaching your peers. You know what I mean? And after I graduated CCC, I graduated in I think like June or something like that, and I was in battery command in August, so I mean, it was quick. And then I came out, and then I started teaching. So really, the people that I was teaching are like barely 2 years behind me. So I wasn't necessarily an extremely seasoned captain. I just come out of battery command. I had like one more job than them, so it was it was it was it was fun though. I liked it. Teaching peers was good. And you know, the other interesting dynamic was, and that was in 2003. So when I was there teaching maybe the second or third rotation, you know, who showed up? A bunch of folks that had deployed for the war in '03. And so then we had a great dynamic of a lot of folks that came in with some really, really, really good experiences, that obviously we hadn't had in years and years and years, that they could share with the rest of the class. So I found out pretty quick how to facilitate, rather than me standing up there like I knew what the heck I was talking about.
Amen. Amen. I always remember you being very fitness oriented and physically fit. Tell me about your fitness and stuff.
Yeah, I love working out. I still do to this day. And yeah, it's just something that I like doing. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm just one of those type of people, I guess, that I'd rather do workouts than read or whatever,
Are you real competitive, or is it okay if you lose every once in a while?
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I guess I'm competitive with myself, like after you get a 300 at least in my head, on the APFT, I can't go backwards. You know what I mean? It's like I can't get a 295 after I already got a 300, because I proved that I could do it. So what that means to me is if I don't do it the next time, it's not because I couldn't do it. It's because I didn't have the will to, or the discipline to do it. So that was, I don't know, maybe that's a little crazy, but so I had to keep like the run of 300s going right up until we changed to the ACFT. That's it. It's like, okay, I have to keep progressing. I cannot go back.
Tell me about your times. Like, are you a good shot? Are you good at shooting and those kinds of things?
I'm okay. Back, I mean, I prefer the rifle, but obviously we carry the pistol for years and years now. And I got reacquainted with the M4, when I was deployed. So that was kind of cool, getting a lot of trigger time on the rifle again. But yeah, I mean, it's not something that I'm not really a gun guy. I mean, I like going to the range. I like shooting, but I don't own any weapons, I don't do that as a hobby.
Right. So tell me about deploying and maybe did you fired your weapon, at the enemy? Have you been fired at? Have you been in danger?
Yeah, I mean, we had I was on a MIT team in Iraq in 2006. So that was we were embedded with the Iraqi battalion, and had a great bunch of soldiers with us. And what they did was in '06, basically everybody had deployed like a ton of times. And so they're running out of people. The Army as a whole is running out of people. So they emptied out all the schoolhouses, right? And they just sent them. And that's where I got caught up back then in '05 and '06, really, end of '05 into January '06. And so we were there with like a hodgepodge of people that were instructors, or that were reservists, or that were whatever, IRR, even IRR. So my MIT team was a bunch of fantastic folks. And I think there was 4 active duty and 5 reservists on our team. It was something like that. Yeah, just phenomenal soldiers in that on that team. And my boss was an aviator. He was the team chief, and I was like the deputy. And then we had 2 guys from the IRR, 1 or 3. One was we call him Grandpa, right? He was probably my age now, but that's what he was, the old guy. He was an E8, Paget, Mike Paget. And then we had another old guy, 2 other old guys. The IRR guys were all old. One was a history teacher from Marblehead, Mass, Bob Colfer, and then one was was a Perez was like an adjutant, or something like that. I forget. And then we had a reservist who was a paramedic, great kid. Bosch, he was a specialist. And who else did we have? Oh, and then we had another an FA guy on there, and then a couple others. So it was just like a hodgepodge of folks from everywhere. Yeah, it's a good time.
I bet. So, it's got to be interesting to work with folks from a foreign army when they've had a history of all of a sudden just out of the blue just shooting at people and stuff. Did y'all have to deal with any of that?
We dealt with man, I loved them. I loved the Iraqis. We were one of the MIT teams that had a good Iraqi counterpart unit, and there were some out there that were not good. And I don't. It's just luck of the draw, I guess. So we had a battalion. Battalion is like 100 people, but they had some fighting experience. So when we went in there we were supposed to train them, right? This hodgepodge bunch of Army guys that went to North Fort Hood for 3 months and learned all this stuff. And then we were supposed to go and train them how to be infantry, whatever, but luckily we got there, and they had been fighting for like a year. So they were pretty trained. They're pretty good. They can go in and take down a house or or snatch up a guy or cordon and search and all that stuff. So they were pretty good. But it was only like a core group of them that were good. And then everybody else was on leave. But they were fantastic. I got a lot of stories about the Iraqis, our friends, and we had some great interpreters too. We had 4 local national interpreters and 1 U.S. contractor. I'm still actually friends with most of them to this day.
So as a leader, do you notice a difference between an American soldier and a soldier from someplace else?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's always the obvious one about the NCO Corps, and that's what always shines through at any of these type of working with any of these other armies, is the professionalism of the U.S. Army NCO Corps. I mean, that's the Army, right? It's the backbone for a reason. And so that's really the main difference. Now, when you look at, and then the other one I would say is training level. So you could take a bunch of guys like us, hodgepodge, IRR, reservists, people who had never done really much of this type of thing, go in there, and we were pretty competent and had the ability to train them on different things. So the training level is higher with I think with our soldiers, but NCO Corps, that's the thing. The officers are basically the same, I think, and the Iraqis were extremely clever. They would think of things that were like, oh wow, it's a freaking great idea, yeah, let's do it. They would just come up with this stuff, and I think it's because when you don't have resources and when you don't have like everything perfect, you have this ingenuity, I think, that develops in those types of situations. So I was always impressed by that. Yeah.
Did you consider, and I think you've already kind of answered this in a way, I take it you considered the Iraqis that you work with to be your friends and patriots alongside of you?
Yeah. They, I was there in 2006, right? So I was there when Saddam was hung. And, I was talking to the Iraqi lieutenants. They could care less. Some of the old school guys, right? The lieutenant colonels and the colonels that had been around, they still had that that attitude of, oh, back in the day, we were organized, we were equipped, we were good, so they had that pride in like old school Iraqi army because they were an army, they had uniforms that matched, you know what I mean? And like we're coming down here, right, to Australia, and I got the new, basically it looks like BDU pattern, camouflage, right? And I had, but my ACH, my Kevlar, had the old gray digital pattern. And I was talking to my CSM, and I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna look like a soup sandwich if I got this thing on, right? So I go and one of, the battalion commander in 1-1 was able to grab one for me before I came down here. So anyway, because I wanted to look uniform, and so that's kind of like their mentality was, they felt like maybe they felt like they were not legitimate because they're undated. Half of them didn't have uniforms, they didn't have boots, they didn't have this and that and the other thing. So I think that was some of the mentality from the old school guys. They were proud of their themselves back in the day. The lieutenants, the ones that were not in the old army, could care less. They were about going out, finding bad guys, and doing what they had to do. So I was impressed by their lieutenants.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So tell me what was next in your career. You come back from the mid team, you got to go to an S3 or an XO job or something like that somewhere.
Yeah, so I went back to Bliss, and Bob Carl was my boss in the leadership division, which is like, a neighbor division from the schoolhouse. And I worked for him for about a year. And I remember one day I was walking in, it was February, it was Valentine's Day. And I was walking to my office, and he goes, hey man, he goes, don't bother going to the office today. Just grab your stuff and head over to 11th Brigade. You got a S3 job over there. I was like, okay. So that's what I did. Picked up my stuff and drove across the tracks to 11th Brigade, reported in to 143. They had just got back from Korea, I believe, or recently. It'd been a short time, and I popped in there and took over as the S3. John Chavez was battalion commander.
Who?
John Chavez was battalion commander. Fantastic guy. He's a judge out in New Mexico. I read his stuff. I was just reading one of his articles the other day. Yeah, great American.
I got to look him up.
Yeah, fantastic guy. Yeah, so that was great. I when I got back from Iraq, I knew that was 07. There's no more. There's very, very, very rare of a SHORAD unit. So I knew that I had to start studying. And so I just broke open the books and started reading doctrine, Patriot doctrine, and sat in on a bunch of Top Gun courses right down the hall. I'm not doing anything else anyway, so I'm going to take advantage of being in the schoolhouse. Sat in a bunch of Top Gun courses, sat on a couple of the defense design boards and whatnot. And then went over and took over as S3, and I loved it. I'm an ops guy, and so that's all. Yeah, I loved it. Learned a lot of great lessons from going to a unit where you were not a lieutenant. You didn't grow up as Patriot, right?
So what was your biggest growing pain going from SHORAD to the Patriot?
I don't think I really had any growing pains. It is what it is, you know what I mean? People, what I found out in the Army is most everybody has an answer to their own question. And so a lot of times people come and ask you for, hey, what am I supposed to do for whatever this is? And it's pretty simple. Like, well, what's the standard? Okay, well, go find the standard and come back and then we'll talk about it. Right. So then they leave, they go find the standard, come back and say, okay, well, the standard is this. Okay, well, I guess that's what we're doing. So it's like, really, I just that's the technique I used is I don't like to tell people what to do. I like to have them figure out what to do on their own and then back brief me, I never liked making, if I'm a major, I want to make major decisions, not captain or lieutenant decisions type of thing. So, and a lot of questions that I found that people were asking were like stuff they should have already known. Like, man, why are you asking me about, whether I should do table 1 before I should do table 2? What the heck's table 1? PMCS? Well, you probably need to learn how to PMCS. So a lot of the answers are already there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, looking at kind of where you're at now, and your trajectory and what's been going on, tell me who's proud of you.
Who's proud of me?
Yeah, who's proud of you?
Yeah.
Who prays for you at night when they lay their head down?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely my obviously my family, my wife Bree, and my parents. Yeah, they are. Yeah, Bree is she's fantastic. We met in the Army. She was an Army nurse. She did 8 or 9 years in the Army. Got 2 tours. Yeah, she had a tour in 2003. Right. Army nurse, ICU nurse, critical care nurse, and so you can imagine what she saw in the year 2003 in Iraq. So she's who you need to have on Damn Heroes, your Heroes program. She's fantastic.
Yay, let's do it.
She and then she went back again in 2006, and she volunteered to go back because our deployment cycles we were off cycle. So she deployed, and then she came back, and then I deployed, and then she knew that when I came back in 07, since she got back in 04, she was going to go back. So she volunteered to go back just to sync up our timelines, our deployment timelines. Yeah. So she did another tour in 06 to 07, and then she got out in 08, I believe, and that's when we started having kids and got married.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we got married before I deployed in January of 06, because we had planned on doing it, I think, in like the summertime or something like that. So we're like, you know what, let's just knock it out. So we had our pastor come over to her house in her living room, and we got married in her living room with our parents on speakerphone and 3 of our friends there. Yeah, that was our wedding.
Oh, that's great. That's great, right? It is amazing when you hear people talk about weddings and birth of children, and how military families did things and how things were experienced. It's really wild. Thanks for your service. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate your service.
Oh my gosh. So, now you're a brigade commander in Japan. I mean, that's really cool. What are your biggest current challenges that you're dealing with?
It's got a lot going on. There's like, it's just like the normal stuff, I guess. Just nothing too crazy. I mean, we have like, I think probably everybody more mission than we have resources, so there's all this stuff we want to do and we just can't get to it. And so it's the balance of how much are we going to wear ourselves out, so what are we going to get the most bang for our buck out of? We had a Patriot battery from Okinawa just deploy up to an island south of mainland Japan, but north of Okinawa. to just conduct a deployment exercise to link up with some Japanese. And then they just went back to Oki yesterday. And the other battalion's here. I mean, the other battery is here with us, the headquarters, battalion headquarters. And then we're going to Hawaii for a live fire in August. And then we're going to Guam for an exercise. So we're just bouncing all over the Pacific, which is fantastic messaging. It's great for the mission, great for the soldiers to go out and do. I mean, 2 live fires, live fire next week, and then 1 3 months from now. I mean, I made it all the way till battalion command before I saw a live fire, a Patriot live fire. So, and now it's now the soldiers are getting it to do a couple of them within 90 days. So it's great training. But we got I guess COVID stuff is kind of, I don't really see that as it's something that we have to mitigate like everything else, and that's what we do. Yeah.
Over my time, I realized just how resilient soldiers were. If you just told them what was going on to the best of your ability and took care of them, they loved it. They enjoyed the adventure, even if it was sit around and wait half the time, right?
Yeah. Yep. It'll be worth it.
Tell me about battalion command.
Battalion command was great, man. It's 2015. It's 2015. Went to Fort Sill, 3-2 ADA, and with a deployment timeline of December. So I took command in June and deployed to UAE and Jordan, half and half for that December. And fantastic time at battalion command. Had your buddy Gary Plotnick as my battle buddy there for battalion command almost till the end. And then they pulled him to go to 10th, and I got Tammy Sue Coleman for about 3 months. So a couple fantastic CSMs. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Tell me a few more mentor or NCOs or officers or soldiers that you can talk to me about. Who is it that stood out to you?
Man, I got so many. I mean, so many NCOs that have influenced me throughout my career. When I was a platoon leader, my 2 section sergeants, I had Sergeant Roberts, Sergeant Green. I wish I knew their first names, but I can't remember them. I'm back at the NTC, and then my second the second platoon that I was platoon leader for was Sergeant Perez. Man, I forget his first name, but fantastic. And Sergeant Perez was the guy that I was like, oh wow, that's what an E7 can do, because that was back in the day where points for Sierras were like 490, whatever they were. And so I had E5s that were in like 14 years. And these guys were freaking just killers, man. They were awesome. And but then when I changed platoons and I had an E7, I was like, oh wow, there's still a difference, right, between an E5 and E6 and an E7. So fantastic guy, Sergeant Perez. In Korea, man, so many good ones. But first sergeants that I had, first sergeant, my first sergeant was Jesse Gonzalez. I don't know if you remember Gonzalez, but he was old school guy. He's fantastic first sergeant. A few months, I can't remember, maybe like 7-8 months we were there. I did almost 2 years in battery, so I had multiple first sergeants. And Ryan Jones was my first sergeant as well out there. So those guys had a big impact on me. Sergeant Major Villarreal, he was my ops sergeant major when I was a battalion S3. had, man, I can't remember everybody now, but yeah, fantastic guy. Obviously, Plotnik and basically my battle buddies is what I'm saying. Everybody who was like my counterpart throughout the years. You, freaking Burnley, freaking all these guys at the schoolhouse. I mean, there was some superstars when I was back over there in 03 to 05. You guys were fantastic, and that's something I liked about the OBC or the BOLIC program is you had the platoon sergeant. Obviously the captains were, we just had other captains, but so being able to work with you guys, as even though you were on the OBC side as platoon sergeants, it was obviously extremely beneficial to captains as well. So yeah,
that was so much fun. Such good times, such good times. So what's the future hold for you? You looking to general one day? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I always take it one duty station at a time. When I was a first lieutenant, I was interviewing for civilian jobs. I had my resume out there, and I came down on the captain's list. And so then I just stayed in. But I had, a couple of my buddies that were lieutenants were getting out, and that was kind of back then in 2000, in 1999. I mean, in 2000, it's like, okay, you do your 3 years. I didn't have a 4-year commitment. I only had a 3-year because I was just on contract. So 3 years, I'm out and done. But I popped positive for captain and stayed in. And so that's, I just take it one job, one location at a time. And I think I'll probably be going back east for my next assignment. I don't know that, but I'm guessing. They got the Pentagon's where they stuff all the, the old colonels. And that's fine. I got, my family's, like I mentioned, they're in Connecticut and New Jersey. And so that's a quick 3 to 4 to 7 hour trip up I-95 there to go visit them. And so they'll be able to, see the grandkids. And I got 2 older girls that live out there as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing the family. My last assignment was Hawaii. So I haven't seen a lot of my family now, or next year will be will be over 4 years. So yeah, looking forward to seeing them.
General Holler was my battery commander when he selected me to be a platoon sergeant for him when I was a staff sergeant. And when you see him, tell him I love him, and I can't wait. One of these days, he's going to cut on here and talk to me. I hope so. I haven't asked him formally yet, so he hasn't had a chance to say no. So
I'll let him know that you got him scheduled for next week.
I would love it. I would love it. I would love it. Yeah, he is a true treasure. I love that guy. And I love you, sir. I sure do appreciate you taking an opportunity to talk with me. You're over in Australia. It's early in the morning, your time, right?
Yeah. I've been up for a couple hours. It's almost 9 o'clock. So yeah, I'm good to go.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, sir, what I'd love for you to do, if you don't mind, is call your unit to attention and give us a good salute and sign out. And let's end this episode of Colonel Matthew Dalton, Heroes I Know. Sir, I love you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks much. I'm gonna stand up, and I'm gonna kind of do it quiet since I'm in the hotel room here. Yeah. But here we go. Brigade, attention. Matt Dalton signing off.
Oh, I love it, sir. Thank you, sir. I sure do appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, true pleasure.
See you, brother. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.